And we are recording, and my mic's on, so it looks good. What's up, everyone? It's the Morgan Thomas Show scouting report for the Syracuse Orange. As we do every Friday, Dixon and I get together around lunchtime to talk about the team that the Clemson Tigers are getting ready to play. So welcome to another episode of the scouting report, Dixon.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Got some good stuff to get into.
Unfortunately, Syracuse is kind of that team that might not be as fun to prep for.
Yeah, no.
I know I put you through Georgia Tech. That one wasn't fun either, I'm sure. And then now Syracuse, probably even less fun than Georgia Tech, because at least you could talk about Jeff Sims, who really didn't have a very good game. And then now I feel like it's going to be hard to talk about anybody on the Syracuse team. But just keep pushing through. We'll make it through this episode, and we'll get to next week. You'll be able to talk about Boston College. They got some good weapons that I like to talk about. So I'm excited about Boston College. And then you'll get to talk about Notre Dame, which I think you'll be excited to do a scouting report for. Are you looking forward to Notre Dame?
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's they got a lot of stars on their team that I think are going to be fun to talk about. And it's going to be one of Clemson's tougher games of the season, I think. So it'll definitely be more fun to talk about, figure out stats, look at that kind of stuff. But I think it'll definitely be way more fun than Syracuse.
So go back to Syracuse. Let's talk about them real quick. The Syracuse Orange traveling to Clemson, already bad news for them in that case. Even during COVID times, tough place to play in Death Valley. They're 1-4, 1-3 in the conference. Actually beat Georgia Tech at home. I had no idea how. Screwed up my picks against the spread on that one. But Clemson, as you know, 5-0, 4-0 in the conference. And this is going to be this Saturday, tomorrow at another noon time slot there. The matchup predictor, I'm looking at ESPN.com right now, 0.6% chance for Syracuse to win. I don't think I've seen one that low, but I also don't disagree with it. 99.4% chance for Clemson to win the game. And then also the spread right now is -46. Now, when you hear that, and we do our picks against the spread, so I'm gonna go ahead and start you with something hot here. If you were a betting man, would you stay away from the -46, or are you still confident Clemson can cover that?
I think after what we saw last week, I think that they can. I know Dabo Swinney doesn't always cover the spread, but I think that this week it's going to be really hard not to, considering just how badly Syracuse has played and how well Clemson has been playing. So I think it'll be, and the word that comes to mind when I hear that percentage that they have to win and the spread is just brutal. Like that's brutal. I don't think that Syracuse can deal with Clemson at all. I think it'll be really funny and fun to watch Clemson just run all over them defensively, offensively, maybe even special teams. We'll see. But I think I think I would go with the spread. I think I would, based on just how Clemson's been playing, how Syracuse has been playing. So
I like it because you and I are on the same page. So I like when you agree with the show host. So you're already doing good there, intern Dixon, agreeing with me. I'm a lone wolf this week against Allen and Houston. Allen and Houston both picked Syracuse plus the points, which I really can't argue with them on that much, because who wouldn't want to start the game 46-0? If you're really thinking that, even in a backyard football game against the toughest team in the county, in the city, you're probably thinking, I can slow this game down enough to not lose by 46. And so there is hope there for Syracuse. Now, when you look at Syracuse overall as a team, struggling defensively and offensively, points per game, 19.6, points allowed per game, 29.6. Never a good thing when you allow 10 more points than you produce, right? Clemson, on the other hand, 48.4 and only 12 points allowed per game. So their offense is clicking on all cylinders right now, doing really well. I mentioned this on Monday. Seems like Trevor Lawrence is in the Matrix, like he's just slowed everything down. And the defense is just progressively getting better. And in a place where many thought there would be maybe a weakness as far as the secondary, is now really one of the best pass defenses as far as total defense goes in the nation, one of the top. And so Clemson's pass defense is getting better. Clemson's rush defense, I think, is going to continue to get better now that Tyler Davis is back. And now that, they're kind of getting used to each other. The more they go, this Clemson defense is going to continue to get better, which is just amazing to say, because Brent Venables has taken multiple different alignments and schemes, multiple different player packages, coming and going from the NFL or, to the NFL and coming from high school, and continues to perform at a high level. Definitely going to be hard for Syracuse, who just lost to Liberty. Okay. And then they also lost to Duke. And those were both home games. They won their home game, Georgia Tech, 37-20, which was confusing to me. I did not pick that. And then they lost away to Pitt and lost away at UNC. So got a bunch of losses there, 1-4 overall. Let's start with the offense. Season leader, quarterback Tommy DeVito, not going to play. You've got Rex Culpepper now as the starting quarterback. Do you feel like that? What kind of game do you think that Culpepper is going to have? Can you tell me a little bit? Give me some insight on the offense.
Yeah, and so we've talked about it. I mean, coming off of some losses that were not great, Culpepper coming off the bench. The kid's got a great story. I love his story about how he battled through some illnesses and came out and still got to play on this Syracuse team. I think he's going to have a really hard time doing a lot of stuff just because of the Clemson pass defense, the Clemson defensive front, the secondary, which we've seen are very solid positions on the field. So I think it'll be very difficult for him to create. He does have a couple of guys who have some good numbers that they've put up over the season in Taj Harris, who's kind of his number one receiver and who was Tommy DeVito's number one receiver before he had to go out. But he has 26 catches this year for 430 yards, and he's got 4 touchdowns, which is the most touchdowns any player on the team has. So I think that Culpepper's going to have to get him the ball, get the ball away from the Clemson defense, because we know that the Clemson defense has some great corners, safety that we've seen that has been really good. So it'll be very important for him to not put the ball in any areas that would be put in jeopardy. And then I think on running the ball, Sean Tucker, who's had a pretty good season so far. He's had 61 carries for about 300 yards, and he's got 2 touchdowns. So maybe he'll be able to spark something for Syracuse's offense. We'll have to see, because I think that Syracuse is going to have to figure out a way to run the ball and throw the ball, because if they rely on just one, then it's not going to go well. So I think they're going to have to try to figure out how to get a good balance of both, be able to do both effectively, which I don't think they're going to be able to figure out how to do against this Clemson defense, who is just absolutely insane, and they're running all over people. So that's what I got. I think that those are the players you're going to hear their names called a bunch. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I like Sean Tucker. I mean, he's a true freshman. That's the only thing. There's not a lot of returning starters. Only 3 returning starters on the offensive line I have down. And then, of course, you have Taj Harris, who is their wide receiver that we all thought was going to take over for Tristan Thompson as he left. Sean Tucker was one that wasn't really expected to become the starter, but has kind of worked his way and earned that spot. But still very difficult for them to get rushing the ball, anything going rushing the ball. 81 yards per game, so not even getting 100 right now. So they rely on their passing game, but now they've lost their quarterback, and it's going to be up to Culpepper to see what he can do with really, only one kind of stud wide receiver to kind of go for. It's tough. It's kind of like a repeat of the Georgia Tech game. When you only have one guy to rely on, it makes it very difficult. Even for a team like Miami, who we said had multiple weapons, was completely shut down. And so that makes Georgia Tech teams look worse. That makes Syracuse look even worse. And then even Boston College, who has more weapons than this team, it's going to be a very difficult task to try to get anything going for that against that Clemson defense. Now, for Syracuse on defense, it's been noted, Andre Cisco, their star safety is now out with injury, and so that depletes them even more. They really only had about 3 guys returning on defense. This is a problem for Dino Babers because they really haven't recruited to keep up with the ACC as a whole, not just Clemson. I mean, it's hard enough to keep up. Everybody has a hard time keeping up with Clemson because Clemson's fighting with the top teams in the nation in any conference. But it's very hard for Syracuse to even keep up with Boston College right now, or Georgia Tech, or any of these like lower level teams, even Dukes of the world. I'm worried about Syracuse, where they're going to go. I think they continue to go down. My stock is dropping on them, as you know, it's already at the bottom anyways. I think this is kind of like Dino Babers' last year type thing. If it's not just a COVID pass, I mentioned this to Walt Deptula yesterday, and he talked about it on his show. Last year should have been his last straw. This year, COVID kind of got in and kind of screwed it up. But really, you've kind of given him a lot more. He's like 12-27. His win-loss record is 12-27 when you take away that 10-win season. So he had one anomaly season and has not had any winning season since that 1 year when Eric Dungy was a senior. So can they do anything to stop Clemson at all? And what are your thoughts on this might be, you know, kind of the end of the line for the coach?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of these defensive stats, and I really can only find 2 guys that really stood out, which would be Jeff, Canton, Arcou, and Michael Jones, who both have 37 total tackles. And watching some film on them, Jones has 3 interceptions this year, and he's had 2 fumble recoveries. But some of the film that I've watched, they've been living in the backfield. They've been tearing up the quarterbacks, the running backs, the running games of some other teams. Now, that didn't happen the entire game because of the scores, and you can look at those. They're just not pretty. But I think that those 2 could mean a lot to the defense. They're both linebackers. So it would really be good for them to step up and maybe give this Syracuse team some life on defense. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Clemson. I don't think that they have the skill, the talent. We've seen that all year long. They're getting outscored by opponents it looks bad. I mean, it really looks bad. I don't have another word to describe it. And Dino Babers, I think Dino Babers, this could be his last season, like you said, on the COVID pass. But he's not putting together good teams. If Syracuse wants to be among the top in the ACC right now, they're going to need a different head coach, and they're going to need a coach who can get good recruits, build a better depth chart than what they've got going right now. It's not looking good. I don't think they're going to be able to do much of anything to stop Clemson.
About the only thing they had positive last year was field position and turnover margin. Everything else was kind of, bottom 100, low 80s, 90s in the nation. Another thing I wanted to look at was the game specifically, and looking at Syracuse football, the opposing team writers. So I'm looking at SB Nation, Syracuse football. Last year we had Kevin Wall on from the SB Nation Syracuse website. I didn't have a chance to get him on this year, but we want to kind of go through one of their articles or a few of their articles and just kind of respond to a few of the things they're saying. One thing that I think is the most popular article right now is how many Infinity Stones is it going to take for Syracuse to beat Clemson? I don't even think Infinity Stones can help Syracuse in this situation.
No, definitely not.
But let's go through. So some of the writers over there, good guys over at SB Nation, John Casillo, Christian de Guzman, Kevin Wall, and Steve Holler, and Andrew Priegler. So we've got John. He's predicting 63-13. Hard for me to think that Syracuse is going to get 13 points. Last year the score was 41-6, and that was in Syracuse. And they had Tristan Thompson, they had Mo Neal, they had Tommy DeVito. I don't see 13 points in this team, but basically what his thoughts were, he assumes that there's going to be a loss. He's looking to see what Sean Tucker, the freshman running back, as we said, can do, and also what Rex Culpepper can do. Kevin Wall, our friend that came on last year, 59-20 is his prediction. I don't see where you get 20 points from. I really don't. Kevin, if you watch this video, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Why 20 points? I don't know. But he says that last week, Dabo Swinney showed he doesn't care about sportsmanship. I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused by that, but I'll give him the pass. So while I think he's going to pull his starters early, he'll spend the second half running the offense while giving a number of players a chance to score against the Orange. Well, I'm sorry, Kevin. Now, he does say no sour grapes. You know he wants to have fun as a head coach or be the fun head coach. Rewarding players with snaps doesn't hurt him in the recruiting trail, even with backups. I'm sorry, Kevin. I mean, I hate that you're a Power 5 team, that you have a Power 5 team there that, you know, the fourth string, more than likely, just like Georgia Tech, the fourth string team is going to be able to score. The punter is going to be able to move the ball, maybe get a first down as a quarterback. I'm sorry. I mean, is that Clemson's fault? Is that bad sportsmanship? You know, I think Clemson and Dabo Swinney does everything they can do to not score in some cases, and they still score. And so while I was very surprised by 73-7, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's not your typical Clemson. So it's not your typical Clemson. So I go back to don't care about sportsmanship. That to me, I think maybe relook at that. Next up is Steve, and Steve says he thinks it's going to be a slobber knocker, but not in a good way for Syracuse. I don't think you could say it's a slobber knocker. I just think it's going to be a beatdown. Slobber knocker to me is kind of a back and forth kind of battle. I don't see it. But another thing I'm looking, Steve, Andy, Christian, all are saying 10, 17, 14. So I passed it to you, Dixon. Any thoughts you have from any of that? And then also 14 points, double-digit points, I don't know. What do you think?
I think the only way they do that is if they can somehow get Andre Schmidt onto the field, their kicker. I don't think the offense can get into the end zone. Maybe we'll see a couple maybe big plays, or not even big plays, maybe like 15 or 20-yard plays. If Syracuse gets some really good field position, if they can move the ball just a little bit, get across the 50 into Clemson territory, maybe get down to the 35, 40-yard line, see if Andre Schmidt can kick you a field goal just to avoid the shutout. But I don't see the offense making it to the end zone. I think Clemson's defense is just too good for that. Even Clemson's backup defense. I mean, the Syracuse offense does not have the kind of weapons that they need to like stay competitive, have a slobber knocker game with Clemson. I don't think that that's at all possible at this point. I mean, they need a miracle for that to happen, which we've seen, you know. But I don't think that Syracuse can make it to the end zone. Andre Schmidt might get a couple field goals. We'll see. But other than that, I don't think it'll happen. But if you get into field goal range, Andre Schmidt just has some pretty good stats. He has not missed a field goal all season. So you got that going for you. But other than that, I mean, maybe 2 or 3 field goals at most. So 9 points. Don't see him breaking double digits. I mean, maybe in the fourth quarter after Clemson has dumped everybody on their bench. Maybe, but I really don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was difficult for Miami to score, difficult for Georgia Tech to score, and I think it's going to be difficult also for Syracuse to score. Maybe the most difficult team that Clemson will play as far as them being able to score, if that's the right way to say it. But another thing I wanted to point out to you, Dixon, and I like to always find things where I had a good prediction. But if you noticed against that Georgia Tech game, what did the announcers say? What would they do in this situation down by so much? What would you say in the locker room? Did I not say to you last week that if I was Jeff Collins, that you forget the scoreboard? You say, don't even, we're getting killed. It's not even about winning. What it's about is building on what you did and trying to improve yourself individually, trying to work together as a team better, regardless of what the score is, trying to do what you can to make small improvements and get better for you. And then as a whole for the team. So focusing on those kind of things, focusing on working together, focusing on building, focusing on not quitting. Those are the kind of things that I said that you would do if you were a coach, because you can't talk about the scoreboard. I mean, basically, and I think Babers would do the same thing going into this game. Hey, guys, not going to win this game. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows it. We're not going to win this game. That's not what it's about. What it's about is sticking with each other. And he even kind of mentioned this in his post-game interview. And a lot of fans kind of rubbed the Syracuse fans the wrong way, saying that what the fans need to do is have faith and the players need to have faith. You know, as considering this is not his first year, not his second year, not even his third or fourth year as a coach, telling people to have faith is, I think not the right move.
I would definitely agree with you on that. I think that well, one, you definitely said that last week. I definitely remember you saying that, and you were right. And I definitely think it's going to be the exact same scenario this week. You get out there, you can't hang with Clemson. Very few teams in the country can hang with Clemson, and we've seen that. Just like the number 7 team in the country, we thought in Miami couldn't hang with Clemson. So we know there's a handful of teams that might can hang with Clemson, but those are your top 3 or 4 teams. I mean, I think anywhere past that down the chart is not going to be able to hang with you. But I think that at this point in time, you got such a huge spread coming into the game. You're right. Dino Babers is probably going to go to his team like, we're not going to win this game. Probably not going to win this game. So I want you guys to go out there and not quit. Hey, I've played football, and coach is always like, don't quit. You're going to keep going. You're not going to give up just because you're getting beat by 60 points in the second quarter. I think that's going to be his coach's speech at halftime. Timeouts, that's just what he's going to be saying. Just don't give up. Don't stop. But, it's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And well, thank you for coming on again and talking about the scouting report for Syracuse and the Orange, what they can do against Clemson, if they can do anything. Let us know in the comments what you think over on Facebook and YouTube. And, tell us what you think the prediction of the score is going to be. It's going to be one where, I think that there's going to be a ability to change the channel. Even though Allen and Houston always get on to me about saying that, admitting that. But, when you're up 70 points, when you're up 50 points, which I believe they will be, it's time to start looking, especially when you're someone like me who likes to look at the other teams. It's time to stop and go look at the other teams for a minute. I keep up with the picks against the spread. So I like to kind of keep it around and change the channel, flip it around to kind of check in on all the teams that we picked. But again, thank you for coming on this week and man, great insight this week. I really appreciate it. I look forward to Boston College. I think it'll be a better one. And then I definitely look forward to Notre Dame and a couple of the games. Really, the November slot or schedule for Clemson is going to pick up, especially with the fact that Florida State seems to be figuring something out. You got Notre Dame, and then you got Virginia Tech. Among the, I believe, I don't know. They have a schedule right in front of me. Maybe Duke. I'm not exactly sure who that fourth team is, but I think the November slot for Clemson is going to be good. I think Clemson is going to continue to dominate. The reason why I think this game might be another domination game, another big Trevor Lawrence game, is because like last week, there was Georgia, Alabama, and you had to kind of try to overshadow that somehow in the news. And no, I know Dabo says he doesn't care about things like this, but the fact that the number one thing in the headline was Trevor Lawrence dominates 400 plus yards passing. And then the second headline was Alabama beats Georgia. That is key for recruiting. That is key for Heisman Trophy stuff. That's just key for a lot of things behind the scenes. I think this week, Big Ten is starting up. You've got Ohio State now going to play. You've got Michigan now going to play. You've got Penn State going to play. I think that if Clemson comes out and has another domination of a game, Trevor Lawrence has another huge passing game, might be a chance to get Clemson in the top of the headlines again, where they normally wouldn't be. But thanks again, Dixon, for joining in. Again, leave us some comments, and you can check out our show. You can check out our scouting report. We try to do this at lunchtime every Friday. I'll try to publish it later on this afternoon. And then you can check out our live show Mondays on Facebook or YouTube, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then if you miss it, I usually try to throw up the podcast during the week so you can check out the podcast and listen while you're driving to and from work or whatever you're doing. And you can listen to the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, those places. So thanks again, Dixon. I hope you have a good rest of your week or your weekend coming up as well.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, Channel Turner, I love my Tigers, and I'm gonna try to watch it and try to watch the entire thing. But like you said, if it gets too out of hand, May flip over to a Nebraska-Ohio State game for a minute. Just one of the. Hopefully, there's going to be a more interesting game on. Maybe we'll see, but hopefully, I'm gonna try to stick with Clemson, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, glad to be here today. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Talk to you later.
All right.